Hey everyone, Sweet Johnny Cage here, back with another guide for Final Fantasy VII Remake INTERgrade. This time I'm going to show you how to take down all 7 Fort Condor minigame opponents in the Sector 7 slums. There are 7 total in Sector 7, go figure. The first thing I want to show you though is the Condor coin shop run by Old Snapper. Every time you defeat an opponent in Fort Condor, the shop will get new items. And these items include boards for you to play on or for you to use, as well as pieces for the board. So every time you defeat an opponent, visit the shop again, spend your Condor coins, and get new pieces. I will show you my loadouts for each opponent and sort of explain how to, fight them. It is a little luck-based, but granted you get, some good opening moves, this guide should serve you just fine. But just make sure you buy everything from the Condor coin shop as you get going. Alright, your first opponent is going to be Kyrie, the thief, the person who everyone thought was Yuffie in the original. But Kyrie is a total pushover. This should be a really easy fight. We're going to start by using the Sorcerer board 1. And we're going to have a Blast Ray, Hella Trooper, Guard Dog, Grenadier, Slug Ray, and a Riot Trooper. This should be more than enough to overpower her. We are basically just going to bum rush her, and then she's going to go down pretty easily. So at the start of the fight, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put down a Blast Ray at this left little meat grinder tunnel here. The way Fort Condor works, just to give you a really quick overview, is it's rock, paper, scissors for the most part. There's a little bit of luck involved, but for the most part it's just rock, paper, scissors, and the rules are always displayed below the clock. So the shield beats the sword beats the bow, and the bow beats the shield, and round it goes. Keep in mind, however, that there are flying enemies and ground enemies, so you want to make sure that the units that you're putting down are able to attack the corresponding units that you're trying to defeat, while they also have the corresponding weakness. So just keep that in mind. But after we place down the Blast Ray, it's going to be able to progress forward, and then as the line of scrimmage moves, that is now territory that we can place units in. So we're going to put down a Slug Ray as well. That's going to help us take down the one little eagle turret over there. Unfortunately, our Blast Ray went down, but that's okay. We can just place down another one. No one unit is necessarily super strong against structures, so any of the Eagles or the Condors, you're really just going to have to, brute force them with really anything you got. The sword units and the bow units are a bit faster when attacking. The shield enemies are typically pretty slow. They're really just there for defense. So if you find yourself just trying to end a game quickly and, you're not being met with too much resistance, drop sword or bow units, and it should go down a bit quicker. The Condors on the left and the right of the main Condor will fight back, so it's a bit of a tower defense in that sense. So what you want to do is when you clear one of the side Condors, if they're left or right, you then want to start placing units in that area, because they will be able to move to the middle Condor without meeting too much resistance. So that's the general strategy. Unfortunately, Kyrie put down a unit that was distracting my flyers, so I did cast Arrow there to try to suck them all back in. Don't forget that each board has they have materia, but they're not always damaging spells. Sometimes they are spells such as Barrier or Haste or Cure or Regen. Other times it's Fire, Blizzard, or Arrow, or even Lightning. So just keep that in mind. Just pay attention to what materia is on your board. And then if you ever feel like you need to quickly clear out the board to kind of end it or just, regain your advantage, that's when you want to start using materia. You don't really want to use it willy-nilly because you can only use it a certain amount of times, and typically that is one time only. It is very rare for a board to have multiple casts of the same materia. So just keep that in mind, but eventually Kyrie will not put up too much of a backline fight. She's not very strong. She's your first opponent pretty much, so you don't have too much to worry about. But once the Condor goes down, battle is finished, you win, and your prize is an Elite Security Officer Vanguard and 2 Condor coins. Our next opponent is going to be Johnny. You can find him in the Sector 7 Slums main area in this alleyway here. He's also a level 1 player, so not too hard. We're going to use the same exact loadout that we used against Kyrie: a Blast Ray, Hella Trooper, Guard Dog, Grenadier, Slug Ray, and a Riot Trooper. So no changes, and Johnny won't put up too much more of a fight than Kyrie did. So starting the fight, it's the same general strategy. As soon as we get going, we are going to put our Blast Ray into this little meat grinder here. And then luckily we got some 2 ATB units, so we're able to act pretty quickly here. So knowing that Johnny has put out some shield units, I put out a ranged slug ray here. You can see when the slug ray attacks the shield enemy, it is a weakness, so it goes down pretty quickly. Unfortunately, when a unit falls, if it's falling in front of a slower unit or a bigger unit like the blast ray, you will get pushed back. So just keep that in mind. I put out a guard dog here. Guard dogs will ignore enemy units and go straight for structures. So if you feel like you have an opening, place a guard dog and you'll be able to take down that structure super fast. Keep in mind, however, that structures can target your units, including guard dogs, and guard dogs have barely any HP. So you never really want to send a guard dog out by itself, and you want to try to make it so it's not just the front line, because it's going to be the first thing targeted. But again, if you just have a clear shot, a clear opening, go ahead and put down a guard dog. It's a great unit and will end the game pretty quickly. So for this, I am, for some reason, attacking the tower on the right. I don't know really why this happened. I didn't really aim for it, but since it's halfway down, I'm going to go for it anyway, just to kind of give myself a totally open opening. And then we put out another guard dog. But again, this will get targeted, and Johnny's going to use the bolt materia now, so I kind of have to reset. I'm not at all concerned about the units moving towards my structures. The structures will fight back, and I'm so close to victory here that I'm not even paying attention to it. So just ignore it, and then as long as you take down that second structure, or even if you don't have to, you're going to be completely fine. So I put down this trooper here, pretty slow, but it's just going to whack it once, and then it'll go down. And then we can just focus on the Condor in the middle. So from here on out, I'm literally just dropping units over and over. Johnny is going to try to, stop me by placing units in the back line. However, they're going to ignore my units for the most part. But you do want to watch out, because if he has any spells left, like he just cast Blizzard there, I believe, you can take a decent amount of damage. But again, just completely ignoring his units since I'm so close to victory, and that's it. Defeating Johnny gives you the Elite Riot Trooper Defense unit, as well as 2 Condor coins. Our next opponent is going to be the Shinra Middle Manager. You can find him sitting at a table outside of 7th Heaven. By the way, try going into 7th Heaven and see what happens. Little Easter egg for you. The setup for the Shinra Middle Manager is more or less the same, but with 2 important changes. We now have the Elite Security Officer and the Elite Riot Trooper on the Sorcerer board. We kept the Blast Ray, Hella Trooper, Guard Dog, and Slug Ray, but we changed out the Elite Security Officer and the Elite Riot Trooper. And the reason for that is because the Shinra Middle Manager, believe it or not, can be a little tricky. And this is where the luck kind of comes in. You want to at least try to be able to match the units that he's putting out. This way you can disperse them quickly, because he is using the Assassin board, and that's a little bit faster than yours. So you do want to keep that in mind. You want to start off by putting out a Hella Trooper if he has any sort of ranged units out, the one with the bow. This allows you to take care of them somewhat safely. Some units can attack the Hella Troopers, some cannot, so just keep that in mind. But this will allow you to keep moving the line of scrimmage forward, and then you can get to that first tower. The strategy from here on out is more or less the same as the previous 2 opponents. Behind enemy lines, you want to put down a guard dog. You want to do it to the left of the turret. This way the turret does not target the dog, at least right away. This allows you to get some serious damage on the turret. You can get rid of it pretty quickly, and then you can move on. But again, the Middle Manager is using the Assassin board, so he's going to be putting out units a lot faster than you might be used to from the previous 2 opponents. But once you get down that first turret, you're kind of home free. You do have to try to put down units quickly, otherwise the line of scrimmage will get pushed back, and the Middle Manager can use some spells, but you have some as well. So if you find that units are starting to gang up on you, do not hesitate to use a spell. This way you can keep this position, and you can keep this advantage. Just keep that in mind. But basically from here on out, I'm going to try to drop units as fast as possible, because the final turret, the Condor, is more or less dead. So I'm just trying my best, although I failed. Unfortunately, the line of scrimmage did just get pushed back. That's okay. I do have to defend a little bit, but luckily I have the ability to put down a Hella Trooper, and this is going to be able to deal some serious damage to these ranged enemies while not taking too much damage himself. So the turret's going to help me out, and then the Helitrooper is kind of just going to put in a lot of work here and do its best to take out pretty much all these ranged opponents that the middle manager is putting out. So from here, putting down an elite trooper, this way I can take out this Ray as well as his ranged units here. Again, play the rock, paper, scissors. The shield beats the sword beats the bow beats the shield, and then just try to make sure you're doing that as intelligently as possible. Put down another guard dog. Shouldn't get killed at least too quickly, but one hit should do it. The battle's finished, and for your victory, you get the elite Grenadier ranged unit as well as 2 Condor coins. Our first level 2 opponent is going to be Jessie. She's sitting at a table just outside 7th Heaven. The setup for her, we're using Sorcerer Board 2, the Security Officer, Elite Security Officer, Helitrooper, Elite Grenadier, and the Slug Ray Facility, which is brand new, at least for this step of the game. So the strategy is going to change a bit with this Slug Ray Facility. The facility units produce other units of a similar type. So the Slug Ray Facility produces Slug Rays. There are different facilities that you can purchase, but this is the one we're going to use for now. So because Jessie spawns a lot of shield units, you want to use the bow units to take them down as quickly as possible. But they have a lot of health and deal a decent amount of damage, so you want to be careful with that. The reason I'm choosing Slug Rays here is because there's flying units, and some of the units on Jessie's side are not able to deal damage to her. However, you have to be very careful because the facility units can get attacked but cannot defend themselves. So they're sort of sitting ducks, and every single time it spawns a unit, it costs health. So just make sure you keep that in mind. You really gotta pay attention to when your facilities are despawning, when they're dying, and how many units they're actually producing, because sometimes it's just not very efficient. So Jessie has sent out a guard dog. I am going to attempt to fight it using a security officer here, or actually I'm going to build another Slug Ray facility, sorry. I'm just going to ignore that dog. The tower will take care of it, and then unfortunately the line of scrimmage is so far up my end that Jessie is able to spawn in a blast ray of her own. However, now that I have some space on her side, I'm able to do the same. So right now I'm basically just going to overwhelm her. I have a couple Slug Rays alive, and then I have a couple of security officers and elite security officers up there. So that's what we're doing now. We're just trying to take out that first turret, which we were able to do. And then since we now have a decent amount of room behind enemy lines here, you want to build a facility if you can. If you feel like you have enough time, you want to build a facility behind enemy lines. But the best way to do that is to tuck it in the corner near one of the scrap heaps. That's honestly the best way to go. But if you feel like you're able to overpower Jessie, just go for it. As you can see here, she's about to drop with one more hit, and we took care of her. No problem. This is a pretty lucky Jessie fight. Not gonna lie, she can be pretty tough. The rewards for beating Jessie are the Grenadier Barracks and 3 Condor coins.
Damn.
The next level 2 opponent is Roche. You can find him in the town square in the Sector 7 slums. This is the area that leads into the train station. He has some pretty funny dialogue, so feel free to stand near him. He's looking for his buddy. If you played the remake, you should know who his buddy is. For Roche, we're going to be using Sorcerer Board 2 again. This time we're going to have a Security Officer, Elite Security Officer, Helitrooper, a Slug Ray Facility, and now we're going to be using the Sentry Gun. The Sentry Gun is going to be really, really helpful against sword units because while it is stationary, it deals a decent amount of damage, and if you can put it behind other units, it's very safe until it just naturally dies over time. The strategy for Roche is basically speed, momentum, and violence. He has the Assassin level 2 board, so he can move really, really fast, and he can overwhelm you pretty quickly. So luckily I was able to get a Helitrooper out really fast, and then I was also able to get a security officer down to help take care of this aerial enemy as quickly as possible. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to move the line of scrimmage up as quickly as possible before Roche can put down big units. Unfortunately, he was able to put down a big boy, and this guy does have a cleave, so unfortunately that unit can really mess up your day. So I'm going to blow my lightning spell there, my thunder spell, just to get it off the board. This allows me to kind of push the line of scrimmage really far back. I did try to use a spell there, thinking it may hit the Helitrooper. It did not. Is able to get some damage on the turret, not too much, but that's okay. We're sort of resetting here. Now I'm going to put down a sentry gun. This is just going to sort of act as like a stopgap for, you know, any sort of enemies that might come through. For some reason, right there, it did target the Helitrooper. That does not always happen. Sometimes it will just ignore it. The unit kind of does what it wants. I don't really get it. But we have this other, you know, Street Sweeper here, so we do have to take care of that. I am going to cast Blizzard just to get it off the board, and that's just my general strategy. I don't like dealing with these things because they're so big, and they just deal so much damage and can cleave through everything. Unfortunately, my Sentry Gun is going to go away here. Roche does have a turret available, but I do have some Slug Rays spawning, luckily from my Slug Ray facility, and that is going to help me push out the line of scrimmage. The Mono Drive does deal a decent amount of damage, but once the turret is destroyed, everything is going to then focus on the Mono Drive, and we're going to be able to push up even further. So from here, what we're trying to do is we're trying to deal as much damage to this turret as possible. I'm going to put down an Elite Security Officer just to deal as much damage as possible. This way we can get this thing out of here. A Moth unit does spawn. This thing has a really deadly AoE. Roche also used Thunder there to destroy my Elite Security Officer, so that kind of sucks. It's okay though, because I have these Slug Rays up here, I got kind of lucky. They were able to be in a position to where the Moth unit was not able to destroy all of them with its AoE attack, but I got kind of lucky there. That will not always be the case. The fact that I've taken out a turret is really important, because as you can see, the timer only has 34.5 seconds left. And what that means is that once sudden death kicks in, as long as Roche is not able to take out any of my turrets, I will win. So from here on out, we're more or less just playing defense. If you're able to, you know, destroy his Condor, great, go for it. But because he's using that level 2 assassin board, he's able to put down units so fast. So you really just want to bum rush that first turret and then play defense, provided you only have like 30 to 40 seconds left. He can get a lot of units on the board very quickly, especially once he pushes up his line of scrimmage. But as long as your turrets are still alive and you've taken out at least one of his, you will win, and you will get the Elite Helitrooper and 3 Condor coins for your troubles. It's a really tough fight, but you can do it. The only level 3 opponent for you to fight is Wedge. You can find him in the southeast corner of the Sector 7 slums, playing with his cats. If you did the quest for the Happy Turtle Bar, you'll know where he is. Believe it or not, we're going to be using a level 1 assassin board against Wedge's level 3 battalion board. The big thing for you to look out for with him is the Armored Shock Trooper. It's a really tough enemy, but the name of the game is to just overwhelm and destroy. So our units are going to be a Riot Barracks, Elite Security Officer, Helitrooper, Sentry Gun Prototype, Slug Ray, and the Grenadier Barracks. So even though he is using a level 3 board, our level 1 board is going to be able to overwhelm him with the quick ATBs. Starting off in the fight, he is going to put down an Elite Shock Trooper, but we're going to wait for our level 5 ATB, and then we're going to put down our Grenadier Barracks. Given that the Elite Shock Trooper moves very slowly and is a shield enemy, I figured it's best to try to get some Grenadiers on the field. They'll be able to take care of him pretty quick. Wedge does spawn a regular Shock Trooper. We're going to let the turret take care of that. We're not going to worry about it too much. So instead, we're going to put down a lone Slug Ray here to try to help take down the Elite Shock Trooper. We're going to get a couple Grenadiers on the field. They'll take care of it pretty quick. And then the turrets will also help out a good deal. They may take a little bit of damage. That's okay. If you have to get into a sudden death sort of mode, just make sure you have at least one of Wedge's turrets down, and you should win that fight. But we will not have to worry about sudden death here. We're going to do this straight up. So now that the Grenadier Barracks is pretty much churning out Grenadiers at a steady clip, and it's in a very safe place, we don't have to worry about those Grenadiers kind of getting caught and dying. So just keep that in mind. We're also going to drop a Riot Barracks. Again, put this in a safe location. You don't want to have to worry about it getting hit or any of the units coming out of it to die really fast. These factories cannot defend themselves, so you have to put them in safe-ish locations. Okay, so Wedge is starting to put a lot of units on the on the field here, but that's okay. We're going to put down a lone sort of sentry unit just to help take care of this big guy, this big street sweeper. But once we get a decent amount of units going down this tunnel, we want to start preparing to use our magic. And the reason for that is because those factories that we put down will run out. They will stop spawning units. However, what we're able to do to counteract that is extend the life of these units. So once you feel like you've gotten enough in a good place, put down another factory behind enemy lines. This way you can spawn more and more units, and then you can start to cast haste on them, and then this will allow them to deal more damage faster. And the haste works as a ward in this sort of setup. It's not just you're casting it on one unit, you're casting it on an area. So every time a unit goes through that ward, as long as it's on the field, they will then have haste cast on them. So it's a really, really, really powerful spell, but you want to make sure you use it when you have a decent amount of units on the field already, because it is a time-limited thing. Since we also have a fire materia, that's going to sort of be our backup. But as you can see here, because we had that Grenadier factory behind enemy lines, it spawned 4 or 5 Grenadiers, and now they are just laying into the Condor and destroying it really, really fast. The sentry gun I have up, not really doing too much. That's okay. But that's it. That's Wedge. Just overwhelm him with the assassin board, and he should be fine. You get the armored shock trooper and 3 Condor coins for defeating Wedge, and now it's on to the Grandmaster. The Grandmaster is, of course, Chadley. Who else? And he is going to be using the Grandmaster board, which is a monster of a board. So you want to bring the level 3 battalion board into this fight, and the units are going to be as follows. You're going to have a security officer, an elite security officer, a heli trooper, a guard dog, which I'll change here in a second for you, and then I also have a sentry gun, a helicopter, grenadier barracks, and riot barracks. So the battalion board is it's like moderately fast, but it has a lot of small ATBs, so you're able to set up a lot of defense against Chadley. I will warn you now, this is a sudden death sort of fight. I'd be surprised if folks are able to actually kill him. I'm not that great at these sort of tower defense games, so maybe that's an overstatement, but I get lucky here. I'm able to send out a guard dog really fast, and then I'm also able to put down a sentry gun in a somewhat safe location. And what this allows me to do is it gives me some breathing room in the line of scrimmage, and then I'm able to put down a security officer. So what I feel like the strategy should be kind of obvious here. I am just trying to take down this turret super, super quickly. And what this is going to allow me to do is that if it does get a sudden death before he takes down one of my turrets, then I sort of win automatically. That won't be what ultimately happens, but that's what I was aiming for. Since that sort of strategy didn't work out and the guard dog and the units that I did spawn got taken out by his materia, I am going to spawn a riot barracks in my back left flank behind the turret, and then that's going to sort of get things moving. Unfortunately, he does have a blast ray that is whittling down my turret health. That's okay though, putting down another barracks on the other side, this way I can defend both places. Chadley is one of the few opponents in the game that can attack at both sides. Most of them will just sort of follow your lead and go up against your units, but Chadley really plays like a Grandmaster, he plays like a human probably would, and that makes a lot of sense considering who he is. So, the barracks are spawning waves and waves and waves of riot soldiers, allowing me to just sort of push through this line, push through this tunnel as best I can. We're going to start using materia here in a little bit. I am putting down a sentry gun behind the scrap pile. This will help take out these soldier enemies, these sword enemies. I am putting down barrier. I am going to cast regen, and again, these are wards. So any unit that walks through these wards will get regen, and they will get barrier. I'm putting down the poison puddle. This way I can get rid of these units and sort of open up the back line here. And then what I'm waiting for is I'm waiting for my 5th ATB, and then we're going to put down a riot barracks in a safe location out of the way of the turret. This way we can get my units moving forward. And luckily, the poison did its job. It did a ton of damage. The barrier kept my units alive. The regen kept their health ticking up a little bit, and I was able to do enough damage to his units to where now I sort of own the back line, at least for now. So I'm also building the other barracks, the Grenadier barracks. This way I could just spawn more and more units in his back line. I'm not really worrying too much about my back line up until this point. The slug rays I'm not too concerned about. They don't deal a ton of damage. So what I'm doing now is I'm just trying to take out this turret as quickly as possible. This way, if I need to, I can sort of own this left side of the battlefield in Chadley's space. So put out the guard dog, get it to deal as much damage to the turret. Hopefully you get lucky and it doesn't, die too quickly. But as you can see, the turret is more or less dead. One more attack from the guard dog, it will go down. And then, I think I just gotta wait for a, yep, there we go, one shot, it's out. So now we're taking out his helitrooper, but he is spawning riot units, so I do have to do something about those. I gotta try to get more ranged enemies back here. It is now going into sudden death. Luckily, I have one of his turrets down, so I own his back left flank. From here, though, I sort of scrambled a little bit. The side turrets have lower defense or less health generally than the middle Condor. So what I was trying to do is I was trying to get things moving into that direction. I did need to take out his barracks. I did need to take out his factories. This way I didn't have to worry too much about them. But I was sort of scrambling here, just trying to get it over with, because Chadley is a really, really tough opponent, as I'm sure you know by now. But, okay, we can calm down here a little bit. We can get moving again. I'm trying to put down more and more units. I have a sentry gun now trained on the back Condor turret. It is also helping take out the barracks that he is putting up, but he moves so fast. I mean, look how fast his ATB is filling up. It's almost unfair, and he gets to 5 so quickly, so he's able to just keep spawning these barracks, Luckily, however, I do have some riot troopers coming from the back line, and they are able to last a decent amount of time to where they are going to start taking out his sword units that are coming out of this barracks. So I sort of have a two-pronged approach here, but now that his slug rays are moving so fast into my back line, I need to end this as quickly as possible. So what I'm doing now is I'm just putting out really, really small units as quickly as possible. Luckily, it ended quickly, but we got the AP of materia, 10,000 gil, and 4 Condor coins, and then once you exit the fight, you will get the trophy for having finished Fort Condor in Sector 7, and then you can sort of move on with the story. I gotta say, this minigame is a lot of fun. I actually like it a whole lot more than the original. In the original game, I straight up would just let the enemies get to the Condor, and then I would just fight the boss. I really enjoy playing this. This is way better than Squats was in the original remake, or the first version remake. So, hats off to Square. This was a really, really fun minigame. Anyway, I hope my tips have helped you. It can take a little while to learn, but it is just rock, paper, scissors, and understanding the different boards and how they work. But I hope the tips helped. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. I'll do my best to help you out. If you're looking for more guides for Final Fantasy VII Remake INTERgrade, please subscribe to the channel so you get alerted when new guides go live. If you're interested in supporting the channel monetarily, please consider becoming a channel member by clicking the blue join button below this video. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and on Twitch, and as always, I'll Sweet Johnny Cage. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
It's butt.
Anytime.
Who's to say they don't have people in Sector 7 hiding right under our noses?